Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be doing a review of Paul Rubens artist grade watercolor tubes. So I got this set about a week ago. I had some rewards points from my credit card and I decided to spend them on something during the quarantine. So I ended up getting this, which I had my eye on for a while. And I did a quarantine haul review of like all the things I got with my credit card points during the quarantine, all art supplies, of course. And today I wanted to just take a deeper look into this set, this Paul Rubens watercolor tube set. It is 24 tubes. They're 8mm tubes, and it comes with a plastic palette, a very nice plastic palette. It was about $59.99 on Amazon, US dollars. I think this used to be slightly cheaper before the quarantine, but the price has gone up given all the shipping restrictions that Amazon has and the more limited availability of products on Amazon that I've seen lately. But overall, I thought it was a great price. I mean, 24 tubes of artist grade watercolor paints sounds like an amazing deal. I've seen reviews from other artists on YouTube, which really, their reviews are really good. And basically everyone says that they perform just like any other artist grade paints. So I wanted to take a deeper look. Now this set is a bit different than the other sets that have been reviewed in other channels. I haven't seen a review for this specific set yet, so I think this might be the first review. There are different sets. There's like the pink tins that have 24 watercolors, or 12. I think they have 12, 24, 48. And those are a different color selection than this. There's also a floral set, which has a different selection. And there's two sets, one that has that have palettes. So the floral set, it just comes with the tubes, no palette. And I'm gonna put the link below so you can see what I mean for this set. There's two types of these, one with a pink palette and one with a blue palette. They have different color selection. So I actually like the pink palette better, but I didn't like the color selection of the pink palette set. So I decided to get the blue palette set. These colors are a bit different. I think that's like kind of their value proposition for this set. The colors are not your standard colors. So I would not recommend this for a beginner. These are very kind of different colors with interesting names. I was kind of intrigued by all the names, so I wanted to try them out. It comes with a little kind of pamphlet with their entire kind of color range and color selection, which is nice to have. Now, these are paints from China, and the pamphlet is in Chinese. And I'm not, unfortunately, I can't read Chinese. But what I did figure out is that paint tubes do have numbers. So if you find the number of the tube in this pamphlet, so for example, if I let's take this one. This is ceramic white, and this is A201. So if I go to this pamphlet and I find A201, it tells me the pigment number. And it says here number 8. So I noticed, and if anybody can read Chinese, please feel free to write in the comments below if I'm right or not. I'm assuming these numbers are like in this one, it said 8. There's some that say 7. There are 5 somewhere. I saw one that was a 5. I'm assuming that's, see, there's a 5 here and a 6. I don't know if you can see that. Sorry, I'm trying to focus here. There's a 5 and a 6. So I'm assuming those are light fast ratings. I'm not 100% sure. Now the tubes also have a light fast, what looks like a light fast rating in the back. So if you can see here, there's 4 little like plus signs or stars. I'm assuming that's also a light fast rating, and it has the pigment number and the transparency. This one says it's transparent. So I'm not sure how this kind of matches up with that other number in the pamphlet. But in order to have both in my swatch card, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to swatch these colors. So you can see I created a swatch card here that has all the color names, pigments, pigment information, the number, the manufacturer ID number for each of the paint tubes. I put the little star rating or plus sign rating for each of the colors. And I put that number, either 7, 8, or 5, depending what the pamphlet said. So if you notice, some of them have, like this peach light color has a 5 rating on the pamphlet and a 2-star on the tube. So I'm assuming whatever, like however they relate, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm assuming that means not light fast. That's actually kind of an upper rose kind of color, and you'll see it in a little bit. Others that have 7s have 3 stars, like this one. Some that have 8 have 4 stars or 5 stars. So I'm assuming they're somewhat correlated to light fastness. So if I take those, right, I'll take it with a grain of salt, but if I assume that's right, and those are actually light fast ratings, then we have about 8 colors in this 24 tube set that are not very light fast. That's about 30% of the colors. So that's not great for an artist grade paint, right? You would want something that's light fast if you are going to sell your work. That being said, there are artists that use those types of colors for work that's going to be digitalized or scanned, or illustrations for books. So those things are not going to hang on a wall and see the light of day necessarily. So the colors don't need to be light fast. So you just need to be mindful, if you buy this set or a similar set from Paul Rubens, that not all the colors are light fast, even though they say they are artist grade. Now let's go look at the palette. So the palette is pretty sturdy. It's a pretty strong plastic. It's pretty thick, actually. So let me compare this to, this is a pencil. So it's like 3 pencils thick. It's pretty thick for a travel palette. So I wouldn't necessarily travel with this, but it is a nice studio palette, right? If you have a workspace at home. It has a seal, kind of airtight seal to keep your paint moist, which is nice. I don't have any other palettes that have that. I know Mijello palettes have that and they're really highly rated. I've never had one, so I'm very excited about this palette. It has 24 wells exactly to fit all the colors that come with the set. Very wide, comfortable wells. You can easily put a 1-inch, or this is a 3/4 inch brush, you know, it fits perfectly. You can dilute the color there. I put like a little dab of the color on the side so I can use the rest of the space to dilute the colors. There's a really nice, really big mixing area. So good if you like to work at a bigger scale. I tend to work on smaller scale, so for me this is pretty huge size. So I'm gonna swatch the colors and hopefully you can see what they look like. This is the first time I'm swatching them out. All right, so let's start with the ceramic white. The pigment for this color is PW5, which is interesting because you usually see titanium white or Chinese white, and they're different pigment numbers. Titanium white is PW6, I believe. And I just don't know. I've never seen ceramic white before. I've never had a ceramic white paint. I don't think I have a PW5. It looks, for a white, it looks pretty transparent, so it's not a very opaque white. So it's definitely not like a titanium dioxide or anything. The next color is Permanent Yellow Light. And by the way, this white can be used if you want to create pastels and, you know, tone down colors. Although I know many people that are, you know, traditional watercolorists don't like to use white. And I hadn't used white, honestly, for many years at the beginning, but then I realized there's actually a few good uses for white in watercolor. So I'm trying to use it a little bit more. And actually, I think I flipped, now that I look at this, I think I flipped the yellows. This says permanent yellow light and this is permanent lemon yellow. Actually, nope, I think that's right. I got them right. It's just that one is warmer than the other. I thought permanent yellow light would be. So I guess I didn't put them in the right order. I like to have them in a certain order. And since I hadn't swatched them before, I didn't know. So this permanent yellow light kind of looks like a cadmium yellow. I'm not sure what PY1 stands for. The permanent lemon yellow looks a bit opaque, but looks like pretty similar to any other cadmium yellow light that I've seen. This is brilliant yellow light. It is a very interesting skin tone. I don't think I own any other color that looks like this. It's very opaque. It is a mixture of, I just messed this up. I touched it too, so I'm trying to fix it. It is a mix of PW6, so titanium dioxide, PY35, and PO20. So it has a little bit of orange, it has a little bit of yellow, and it has white. I'm gonna see if I can try this out with, fix it a little bit. So this is a really interesting color. I've never used a color that looks like this, and this is full strength at the top. Look how much it covers that black line. So I put a black line in all my swatches just to see how opaque or transparent the color is. This is super opaque. So it's interesting. I wouldn't know what to use it for, to be honest. So if you have used brilliant yellow before, please let me know in the comments below. What do you use it for? What are the uses for this? It looks almost like gouache. So that's really interesting. Now we're going to permanent orange yellow. So it's a very bright orange. PO73, PY74. It's a really pretty orange. Very warm. Almost looks like a warm red rather than an orange. And look at the permanent yellow light. When it dried transparent. So that's really interesting. It started out pretty like, you know, semi-transparent, and now it's transparent. Now the Scarlet is the next one. This looks like a more neutral red. Beautiful red. Oh my goodness. I could use this red for a lot of things. This is a great mixing red, I would think. This is really nice. The next one is Peach Light. It actually looks like an opera rose. And I don't own any opera roses from any other brands. So I don't have anything to compare it side by side, but look at that. Oh my God, this is highlighter pink. It is neon, completely neon. That is nuts. That has to have some sort of dye or optical brightener or something in there. That's not natural at all. It says the pigment is PR146, which I looked it up and it's just like a red pigment, kind of like a magenta pigment, I think, but That does not look like magenta. That's interesting. I wonder if it's a typo or incorrect labeling of some sort, because that's definitely, that is not like a normal pigment color. That must be a dye, and the light fastness for that is really low. It's like 2 stars out of 5, so it's basically not light fast at all. The next one is Lilac Purple. It's a really pretty lilac color, very soft pastel color. It has 3 pigments, PR122, PV23, and PW6. So it has white in there. You can tell that it has white. It's actually in this set, there are 7 colors in this set that have white in the mixes. So a lot of white. I know in Asian watercolors, there tend to be more colors that have white. And maybe it's just the techniques that are used traditionally there require these colors to be a bit more opaque and have a white pigment. So very different than kind of more Western watercolors. So that's really interesting. And I'm hoping to learn a bit more about that and how I can use these colors that have white to create, you know, really nice paintings, because I know a lot of people use them, and especially in Asian art seems to be pretty popular. A lot of the brands like Magello and Shinhan and Holbein, they have white in their mixes. So it must be a thing that I'm just not that knowledgeable about. So these last 2, the Lavender Blue is really pretty lavender color. Also has white. Then Shadow Purple. It's a really nice dark gray neutral, kind of like a Payne's gray, or yeah, it's really interesting. It's a beautiful color. Actually, it's funny that they call it Shadow Purple, because I put it over here thinking it was a purple, and it is so dark. It's gray, so I would have put it with the neutrals if I had known. But I'm still kind of learning my way around this color selection on this palette. So once I put like little dabs in the palette. So once they run out, I will rearrange them in the way that I like. This one is called Blue Peacock. It is PB36, PB29, which is an ultramarine blue, and PW6. And it is a really nice bright. It almost looks like I don't know, teal. Maybe it's not as green as a teal color, but somewhat like a cyan or cerulean or teal or something along those lines. I'm having a hard time describing it. The next one is Turquoise Deep, PG26. It's interesting because it's very opaque, and I almost want to say if it says just there's 1 pigment in there, but it feels like it has white almost. It's a little bit pastelish. It's a strange turquoise. I don't think I've ever seen a turquoise like this. It is really interesting. All right, the next one is Mineral Green. I love how this color looks in just like straight out of the tube. It looks like a beautiful like pastel minty green, very opaque, extremely opaque. Also has white in it. Very pretty color though. Next one is Western Kenya Green Earth, which I was very curious to try, because the fact that it says Kenya Green Earth makes me think that they sourced the pigment from Kenya. I don't know if that's the case or not, but that would be really interesting if they did source this from Kenya. It's a really nice, kind of soft green earth. Next one is yellow green. Very bright green color. It actually, it's funny because in the tube it says PG 36 and PY 74. Now in the PY 74 it says dye, so it says it's a dye basically. So they actually kind of disclosing the fact that there's a dye in this formulation, which I'm not surprised about because it looks quite neon too. And I'm surprised that in the peach light, which is definitely like, looks like there's dyes in there, it doesn't, they don't disclose that it's a dye. So I'm kind of confused about that. It's not clear to me. The next one is yellow ochre. So there are 2 yellow ochres in this set, which I thought was interesting, that they would think that they would feel the need to put 2 yellow ochres. There's this one. They both have the same pigment number, PY42 and PY42. One says yellow ochre and the other one says Hatena yellow ochre. So I'm assuming Hatena is a place and they sourced the yellow ochre from that place. So it's a different shade of yellow ochre, because the earth colors really, I mean, depending where you source them from, it can change their qualities and the, you know, how the color behaves and the actual shade. So interesting to see that they have 2 yellow ochres. So I am swatching now. This is the second yellow ochre, the Hatena yellow ochre. It's actually kind of looks like a raw sienna in a way. It looks more transparent than the regular yellow ochre, and it's a little warmer. Yeah, it's a little darker, a little warmer. The next one is Indian Red, PR101, and this PR101 is actually red iron oxide, if I'm not mistaken. Very transparent, so definitely looks like a red oxide. I love red oxide colors. They're just so beautiful and transparent and rich and brilliant. So that one is no exception. It's really beautiful. Next one is Umber Green Earth. So we have another green earth color. This seems to be also very light, not very saturated, but beautiful. I don't know if it has a little bit of granulation, maybe. I can't quite tell right now, but it's a different shade versus the Western Kenya Green Earth was a lot greener. This is a bit more muted for sure. The next one is Castle Umber. This looks more like your traditional burnt umber, but the fact that they have the name Castle there makes me think that they sourced it from somewhere called Castle. So part of the reason why I found this set so interesting and I decided to buy it was because of these names. They just seem so mysterious and exotic to me. I'm like, where is Castle? Should probably Google that. I haven't Googled it yet. I'm sure it's probably a place somewhere. The next one is Cypress Brown Deep. So I'm assuming this was sourced from Cyprus. It's a bit more yellowish type of brown color. Really pretty. The next one is Gray Light. So they have a few grays. They have a gray light and a Davis gray. The gray light is very very light, it's basically PY6 and PBR6, which is kind of like, I guess, a brown color, but it's mostly white. So this is like PW6 is titanium dioxide, which is a very opaque white pigment, and this is very opaque. And I would say there's a huge percent of titanium dioxide in this in that mix, definitely. And then my water that I'm using for the swatches is getting dirty, so it's actually affecting a little bit, honestly, how the colors look. Then this Davis gray, it's kind of like a greenish gray, so lots of kind of greenish colors in this set. I don't have any other Davis gray to compare this against. It also has PW6 titanium dioxide, so very opaque. And then the last one is a German vine black. I did Google a little bit of this. It's basically like made with like vegetable charcoal kind of thing. So it's a warm black. Very pretty warm black. So the shadow violet is more like a, yeah, cooler neutral, and this is like a warmer neutral. So these are the swatches. By the way, these are done in Arches 100% cotton watercolor paper cold press. I'm gonna leave them here in the screen for a little bit in case you want to take a snapshot. They are beautiful colors, very vibrant, very transparent. Overall, lots of white mixes, so keep that in mind, and some light fastness issues. The neutrals are gorgeous. The yellow ochres, the green earths, the umbers, they're completely gorgeous. You have a neutral red to mix. The permanent orange actually turned, wow, it shifted. It shifted from like a warmer red, like a, yeah, warmer red to like a peachy orange, which is really interesting. And again, this is not your traditional set. There's no traditional like mixing, like ultramarine blue, I should say, or phthalo blue. These are all very unique types of colors and mixes. So now I want to do some mixing with these colors and see what kind of colors we can get from here. I mean, I have to say these colors are very different and interesting to what I'm used to. Most of my sets are traditional kind of colors, and these are quite different. They have white, I should say traditional Western colors, and I'm not used to the mixes using white so much, so it's gonna be interesting for me to use this and learn how to kind of get the best out of those colors. I'm gonna do a mix here of the Scarlet with the permanent yellow light, which are two very nice, transparent, vibrant colors. The Scarlet is pretty strong. It overpowers the yellow. It's very, very strong. It's very nice, clean orange color. Now, I don't have in this set a blue that I can say it's like a nice primary blue or mixing blue. There isn't a phthalo, there isn't an ultramarine, there isn't a cobalt. So the closest thing I can think of is to use, where did my swatch go? Oh, it's on the back. Sorry guys. This blue peacock color, it has white in it, so not sure how that's gonna turn out. I'm afraid all these white mixes in the colors are gonna create mud, and that's kind of correct actually. That's very muddy looking purple. Let's see how it does with the yellow. The yellow is sort of okay. And I realized these are not meant to be, you know, like a beginner's watercolor set or a traditional watercolor set. Sorry, I can't speak today. But you know, you want to be able to mix bright, clear colors that are not muddy. So that purple right there, I don't like it, to be honest. Now I'm going to try another color mixing wheel here. This is gonna be with lemon yellow. So I'm gonna do that. And I'm gonna actually try this peach light color, which is kind of like the opera rose. I mean, look at that. Oh my God, it's so neon. It's crazy. I know people love this color. There's a large fan following of opera rose. I have never used it, so I'm gonna be learning new things with this set. That was the point of getting this set, honestly. Just, you know, getting something different, not just a different brand that I've never tried, but, you know, different pigments, different color mixes that I'm not used to kind of expand my horizons, you know, and learn new things. I feel like this quarantine has kind of given me the time and the opportunity to, you know, continue learning new things and not get stuck in the same old ways. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do here. So I took the Lavender Blue, which also has white. It's like no blue paint in this set that doesn't have white, just to see what I can get. And that's really interesting. It's a really bright orange, really pretty orange, and beautiful, like this little like lilac type of color. That is gorgeous. I can see a lot of uses for that, for like flowers or cute greeting cards. That's really nice. I'm so excited to try these out in like an actual painting. Now I'm gonna do a wetter wet just because I want to see how some of these colors move. So I'm gonna just like put some water here, let it soak a little bit, and I'm gonna pick, let me see, what color should I pick? I'm curious about this orange color actually. That does not move a lot, the orange. Let's see the red that we just used for mixing the Scarlet. Does that move? That does not move a lot. I mean, I've heard that Asian watercolor brands in general don't tend to move a lot. Like they just don't disperse as much as Western watercolors. It's just the style of painting that doesn't require it. So yeah, these don't move at all. That is so interesting. Let me see this shadow purple color. That moves. That one moves a little bit more, but not crazy. I mean, core watercolors, you know how they go like crazy. I love that. So it's very different style that you have to develop if you want to paint with these. I'm gonna try that upper rose color. See, I would expect that one to move. Because it has dyes and stuff, I would expect it to kind of, I don't know why, but I just would expect that to move more. This is the lemon yellow. I will let them dry and see, but I don't see a lot of movement in general. Let's try the red Iron Oxide. I feel like that one kind of moves a little bit better than others. That's really interesting, really interesting. I'm gonna try to see if I can mix some sort of neutral gray, although there are a lot of neutral grays in the set. Let's say I wanted to go somewhere and take a limited palette with me, and I wanted to take a few colors from this set and mix it. You like to be able to mix, so I don't have to take that many colors. So I would like to see if I can mix. So I'm trying to mix the Scarlet with one of the greens that is very muddy. That's the turquoise, actually. It's very muddy. That turquoise is so opaque. I don't understand. It's this color and this color that I mixed. I'm really just unclear as to why that turquoise, it says it doesn't have any white, but it's so opaque. Maybe, I don't know, the way they ground the pigment, maybe the binders they use, maybe that's why they don't move that much. Look at this, actually. Can you see this? I'm just noticing it now. In here, this is the shadow purple color that I just did a wet on wet like test on, and it's separating into two pigments. Can you see that? Like a lighter pigment and a darker pigment. So interesting. So one pigment must be much heavier than the other one. That is this shadow purple, PG18 and PB29. So it's basically ultramarine with a green. So overall, honestly, I think, this set, it's really interesting. I love the palette. I really love the palette. It's really great. I honestly think I might use the palette for a different, I might use the palette for other paints once the dabs that I put in here run out, because it's a really excellent palette. It did come a little scratched though, which I forgot to mention. The paints themselves, I wouldn't use this set for mixing. It's just the colors just don't mix well. There's a lot of white pigment mixed in there. There's limited mixability, I guess. Some of the yellows, the reds can be mixed. The blues, I would advise against it. Most of these don't move a lot on paper. The orange kind of moved a little bit more at the end. I think it's because the water pooled in that section. But most of these colors, they just don't disperse. They don't move around that much. They're beautiful to use as is. I feel like if you're gonna use this for Asian style watercolor painting and techniques, these are definitely awesome without having to mix too much. Other than that, if you're new to watercolor, definitely do not recommend. And if you have Daniel Smith watercolors, neutrals, I would go with those. These are pretty, they're beautiful. They seem to be light fast, so it's, if you think about it, it's $50 for 24 colors. And even if you use only some of these, like I would personally use these two yellows, even though they're not very light fast, I might use them for sketchbooks. The Scarlet, the shadow purple, it's gorgeous. And some of the, maybe all these neutrals are beautiful. So there's like 6 neutrals and a couple of greens that I might use. So overall, maybe I'll use 10 colors out of this 24 set. It cost $50. It brought the palette, so maybe, you know, less than $5 a tube if you think of, like, you know, you're getting a palette with it. So not a terrible deal. Just very different from what I would expect from a different watercolor set. Very different than any other watercolor sets that I have. So, I mean, I hope this was helpful. I know I rambled a lot, but, you know, I've never had a set with these types of combinations of colors. So it's very exciting and interesting, and I'll learn more. Hopefully I'll be able to share more as I use them more and learn how they behave better. Here are a couple of paintings that I made using these paints. I decided to incorporate the pastel colors into the background, as I wasn't sure how to incorporate it into the flower arrangement without things getting muddy or opaque. So I think it actually made the flowers pop. I did have issues mixing greens with this set. For this one, I did use the turquoise green with a red iron oxide to mix that green, which came out okay. For the next painting, I actually used a phthalo blue from a different brand to create the color for the stems. But overall, I'm really happy with the results and how the paintings came out. All right, well, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see some more videos like this, subscribe. And please take care of yourself, stay safe and healthy, and keep painting. We're all gonna get out of this crazy lockdown situation together, and painting helps to cope. So at least it helps me. So take care and see you next time. Bye.